I now call this regular meeting of the Board of Education to order at 7:03 p.m. Can you please call the roll?
Ms. Pearson?
Present.
Ms. Chavez?
Here.
Ms. McCall?
Present.
Ms. Bennett?
Here.
Mr. Carpenter?
Here.
Ms. Haley?
Here.
Ms. Stanford?
Here.
With 7 present, we have a quorum.
Thank you. We will now take a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. As we start each board meeting, it bears reminding that the mission of Rockford Public Schools is to collaboratively engage all students in an equitable first-class education for a changing world. Before we go any further, thank you to Kim Pedersen and Aaron Hill, who are working behind the scenes to produce the board's broadcast via YouTube live stream and Comcast Channel 20. We now will recognize and celebrate outstanding contributions. Ms. Stanford, if you can please lead us with that.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. We're excited to recognize Rockford Public Schools' outstanding teachers, students, and coaches to celebrate their great achievements. We're going to begin with academics. Let's see here. A team of 6th grade students from the Gifted Academy at Marshall Middle School has won the Cal Ripken Senior Foundation National STEM Challenge. Team Zip Zoom, made up of students Adalia Moyer, Zoe Fossey, Ophelia McClellan, Lydia Ruffner, and Victoria McAllister, was coached by teacher Stacy Wallace and assisted by Tracy Jacquinette. The team developed a creative 4-step solution to address shoreline pollution using tools from their school's STEM Center. After advancing through 4 rounds of competition, the team traveled to Baltimore, Maryland, as one of just 3 national finalists. Team Zip Zoom impressed the judges and brought home the national title, along with a trophy, a signed Cal Ripken Jr. baseball and jersey, and memories to last a lifetime. Ladies, please come forward to be recognized.
They were so excited back there. They were like, so
I love that there. I love that they're all girls. It's a pretty big deal. Look at their parents. I love that. Next, we're going to celebrate our high school valedictorians and salutatorians. So I'm going to read all of the names, and then you will come up at the end, please. Their dedication, perseverance, and commitment to excellence have set a shining example for all of us. From Auburn High School, Anari Mehta, valedictorian. James Murray, salutatorian. From East, Brianna Asalato Okoto, valedictorian. Trenna Carlson, salutatorian. From Guilford, Hayden Crum, valedictorian. Riley Sturm, salutatorian. From Jefferson, Natalie Munoz Olives, valedictorian. Naomi Coltra, salutatorian. And from Roosevelt, Donald Gasparini, valedictorian, and Hannah Contreras, salutatorian. We're incredibly proud and confident that you will continue to inspire and excel in your future endeavors. Please come forward to be recognized. And They're done. Okay, they're done with us. Now on to athletics. I'm going to call each school at a time. Please come up when you hear your name. We had 7 middle schools qualify for the IESA 3A Stack State Track and Field Championship. From Barber, Alexandra Escobar, 100 meters. Coach Ashley Romerman. From Eisenhower, Alexander Brockwell, 1,600 meters. 4 by 100 meters, James Wright, J.C. Lopez, Jaden Wright, and Jaden Reese. Allison Steibel, 100 meters, 200 meters. High jump, second place. Long jump, first place. Cassidy Macias, shot put. Chloe Hagan Ishman, long jump. Coaches Ben Dresser and Robin Heitman, sorry. From Flynn, Zalia Polk, shot put. Zyshawn Young, 110-meter hurdles. Xavier Eboli, 400 meters and discus. Jamarius Murphy, 400 meters. The 4 by 200 meters, Traymon Fleming, Ethan Becker, Xavier Ebole, Braided Fleming. Jan Lamodies, discus. Coaches, Tanya, Patrick Sterud, and Willie McCoy.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Good job. Congratulations.
From Kennedy, Jaharmony Butler, 100 meters. Coaches, Ryan Lambert and Virgil Hobson. From Lincoln, Noah Adams, 100 meters. The 4 by 100 meters, Miles Jensen, Nehemiah Gray, Caden Moore, Noah Adams. Coaches, Dante Johnson, Reginald Baldwin, and Clarence Foote.
Good job. Congratulations. Congratulations.
You're welcome.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
From Montessori, Renaya Clanton Davis, 100 meters. Coach, Myquan Denny. And from West, Gabrielle Reed, 100 meters, 200 meters. Dontavion Young, 100 meters, 200 meters. 4 by 100 meters, 7th grade, Tyshawn Scott, D'Angelo Maxey Frazier, Gakorian Thompson, Daquan Johnson. 4 by 100 meters, 8th grade, King Thomas, Damian Ingram Graham, Anthony Green, Dontavian Young. Coaches, Brian Rutan and Cicely Conway. Now we're on to high school track and field. We had many students from our high schools participate in the IHSA Track and Field State Championship. And again, I'll go by school. From Auburn, Jada Benford, high jump, second place. Navier Purifoy, 110-meter hurdles. Coach, Olivia Ferguson. From Guilford, Zariah Burnett, 100 meters, high jump and long jump. Natasha Bowman, shot put and discus, fourth place shot put. 4x100 meter relay, Gideon Wooden, Davion Wells Scholes, Kair Johnson, Alexander Perry. Alexander Perry, 100 meters and 200 meters. Coaches, Greg Ford and Greg Taylor. From Jefferson, Gennardi Turner, 100-meter hurdles, 110-meter hurdles, 300-meter hurdles. Coach Matthew Davis. Turner set a new school record in the 110-meter hurdles and a personal best in the 300-meter hurdles. Congratulations.
Good job. Congratulations.
Track next year. Right.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And lastly, we have boys tennis state qualifiers. We have from Auburn, Austin, Altanagarel, and Cooper Cruton with Coach Tracy Palmer, and from Guilford, Santiago Herrera and Coach David Woosley. Please come forward. Congratulations again, everyone. Thank you for coming tonight. Have a wonderful summer vacation. That ends our report.
Thank you. Okay. We are now on to the petitions and communications portion of our meeting, where we invite the public to make comments. The board will not respond to the comments at this time. If it is appropriate, you will be contacted in a timely manner by staff. Each speaker will be allowed no more than 3 minutes to address the board. It is not appropriate to discuss matters that would otherwise be confidential in such open meetings. If you look to your left, you will see 2 digital clocks. One shows the total time allotted to public comments, and one shows the total time for each speaker. We thank you for your cooperation with our guidelines. Our first speaker is Claudia Marshall, followed by Tina and Jamie Worley, and then John Tack Brantley.
Mike.
So, good evening, school board members. On June 4th, 2025, at the contractually bound instructional council meeting, a proposal for change in middle school electives was presented for a vote of approval. Imagine our shock when the proposal was a list, mostly of arts and sciences, that are on the chopping block for removal. Here is that list. Beginning computer applications, environmental science, introduction to theater, multi-language lab, Spanish foundations, Spanish 1, French 1. Visual arts explorations, intermediate art, studio art. Beginning choir, intermediate choir, advanced choir. Medical science, STEM, PLTW medical detectives, high school readiness, and yearbook publication. There's not time to share now, but it's blatantly obvious in the proposal the athletic-heavy push shows what's valued in RPS. Although the district shared data that they say justifies these decisions, the REA questions the data and wants the board to know the following. This proposal was presented to the music middle school teachers at their PLC meeting on April 17th of this year. This proposal was presented as if already decided upon before it was shared with or voted on at the June 4th Instructional Council meeting, which I remind you is a contractually bound committee. Only 100, little less, middle school students were surveyed, and they were chosen by their building principals for the survey. Only 4 students were surveyed at West, and we're told that the Kappa program being housed there did not constitute a need for any more students to be surveyed. Year-long classes like yearbook will now become an after-school club if the admin of that building wants to budget it as an after-school club. There is no way that can be done as an after-school club, even if the admin budgets it in. This will take a huge opportunity from students who are interested in journalism. Many principals did not finish their portion and section of the survey on this topic, and the district did not hold them accountable to do so. None of the REA members that were part of the design task force for this proposal were at the presentation of this proposal on June 4th, as is always the case when there is any presentation of any initiative at Instructional Council. We were informed that none of the REA members involved with this were invited to present at the whole Instructional Council Committee on June 4th. We are reaching out to the district and our members for clarification on this. The REA did not hear about this huge upheaval of programs through the proper contractual process. Nothing should be presented to the REA members until it has gone through the Instructional Council Committee and had a proper vote. Luckily, the REA members on the council understand the huge detriment this will be to our students and would not make a second motion to put the vote through until we have more data. Thank you.
Are Tina or Jamie Worley here? If not, then it'll be John Tack Brantley next.
Good evening, school board, and most of all, our citizens that's watching. I'm going to talk about the 3 C's, communication, coordination, and cooperation. We hadn't had that going. They talk about it in the school system, but in order for the teachers at the school and the principals at the school to work with the community as they say they want to work with them, we got to have the 3 C's, communication, coordination, and cooperation. I'm going to use, for example, we've taken our kids on a field trip to the Shared Aquarium and also to Rainbow Beach. I'm taking 50 kids and 10 adults. I put my foot in my mouth, which is a good foot, because now I have 85 kids and I have 18 adults that never been to the Shared Aquarium. What bugged me is the fact that every one of the kids, all the 5 different schools that we chose, that we informed the school that the kids going to, Hassel School principal, vice principal, Ryan, blew me away. He had the nerve to tell me that he don't know me. You ain't got to know me. And what it is, we don't work for the school system. The school system and the teachers work for us. The 10 kids that go to Hassel School is in my program. I don't have to know you. You have to know me and have to be able to get along with me. We shouldn't have this agitation with the principals and the community if y'all truly say y'all want to work with the community. My second part of my speech is talking about ISIS. 10 years ago, we stood up against ISIS, refused to let ISIS open up a building and open up the jailhouse, utilize the jailhouse. ISIS is here in town. I don't know your plans, but we have a plan. I'm asking y'all, with the school, the police department, the fire department, do y'all have a system in place for when ISIS come to Barber School, Lincoln Middle School? Them are the 2 schools where most of our foreign kids go to. How would that feel if them kids get out of school and their parents is at work and their parents get taken off their job? Where are them kids going to go when they have no parents at their house for them to go to? We need to address that. quick, fast, in a hurry. I also want to thank the school bus. And by the way, I'm history at the school bus. I am the first African American to install all of the cameras on the school bus back in the 80s. The first cameras that was ever installed on the school bus was installed by myself. So I'm like, where's my picture at? Because that's part of the school history. So y'all take that into account. Who was the first African-American man that installed the camera on the school bus in Rockford, Illinois? Just like who was the first African-American, Lewis Linden, who y'all named the school after. You ain't got to name the school after me, but just remember who was the first black person that put the first camera on the school bus. And I want to thank the school bus for giving us 2 school buses to go to Chicago. My time up. Thank you.
We are now on the performance and monitoring consent portion of our meeting. May I have a motion and a second to approve the items listed in section 4?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Are there any consent items in section 4 that board members wish to have pulled for separate consideration? Seeing none, I'd ask that the roll be called, please.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Could you repeat, please?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Chavez?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. We are now on the Planning and Development Committee. Is there a motion and a second to approve item 5A, DMG PRISM proposal?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Ms. Pearson?
Yes, thank you. So first of all, thanks to Mr. Bartel for the detailed information that was sent in regards to DMG. I had given this much thought, and I know that the bottom line is putting the new superintendent, whoever that may be, in a position to have a clean slate. I also know that we will be approving renewal contracts tonight in regards that support academic achievement. So that it's troubling, one, and I can appreciate having a second eye on the initiatives that we have. But I think based on like 2018, 2019 information that we got for summative designations, I don't know why we didn't pause and really take a look then when whether the initiatives that we had in place was working. So I think, and you know, we had a lot of money and we had programs that we couldn't continue to fund because we no longer received the ESSER funds. And taking all of that into consideration, I feel like there is a better, not that it is not important, but it will be different if we needed that support in terms of skill and bandwidth. But we haven't, and we're going to need that money to be used in other areas, specifically given we don't know where we're going to land on the budget and other financial needs that may come up. So to commit to taking on that, given we have so much that we have approved and supported that could really, if you connect the dots, look at the total operation of our district. And we've spent monies after monies after monies on initiatives that could be determined that we don't need. But when the new superintendent come in, I think it is we'll give him an opportunity to actually see what we have in place. And we don't want to pass it on to someone to say, yes, you need this, or I make this recommendation, when we can do that ourselves. So it leaves a question, were there departments or positions created that should not have been created? And do we have to pay someone to tell us that? Because we might not want to be in a position to have to do that ourselves. So there's many ways that you can look at this. I just feel that we're going to need monies that we have already voted in support of that will cost us, the things that are already in process, and that we could have looked at closer, and we did not. And I think that this is a good time to pump the brakes and really look at where we can save, given the things that we may be faced with in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Would you please call the roll?
Ms. Chavez?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
No.
The motion passes with 6 yeses, 1 no.
Thank you. Dr. Brown will now present the fiscal year 26 draft budget, as well as provide an update on the facilities master plan funding options. Dr. Brown?
Okay, so the only thing I can tell you is this is already outdated. So I'm going to hit the high points because in 2 weeks you're actually going to get the tentative budget that will tell you even more. So if we go to, I'm going to grab the clicker here. I'm really just going to hit the key considerations here, and then we'll go quickly through the next set of slides, because we actually have a really good update for you coming at the 7-1 Committee of the Whole meeting that will actually provide better detail. But when this was prepared, the state budget had not been approved. So this was, again, done for the Committee of the Whole meeting at the beginning of June, and, you know, we would have posted this up in board docs in the middle of May. So there's been quite a bit that's happened since then. That second bullet point where it talks about, you know, planning to decrease funding for schools in some areas, the state did do that. They cut $43 million out of the $350 that they had planned to budget for evidence-based funding. What was left was the increase for tier funding, and they cut the property tax relief grant. So that was the first one that really hit. As we'll see in another slide, I think what we've budgeted for is still safe. Uncertainty on the federal funding, that third bullet point. The Ed Department came out a couple of weeks ago with what they call the FY26 skinny budget, which is not the one that they're negotiating right now. It would be the one that they would try and put in place for the upcoming budget cycle. The one that they're working on right now is actually for FY25, the federal year that we're currently in right now. So in that skinny budget, they have proposed to keep the Title I funding and the IDEA funding, which is what we receive for special education, at FY24 funding levels. So not even what they have in the continuing resolution right now, actually going back to FY24. The one thing that did happen within the last week was the continuing resolution, not the budget that they're working on right now, but what got the federal government to be able to operate through September 30th had $0 for Title II funding. And so when they loaded the federal grants last week for us to start to write for Title I and Title II and Title IV, the Title I money was the FY24 money, which we were anticipating it would be. The Title IV money was FY24 money, and the Title II money, which was not in the continuing resolution, was $0. So as of right now, they have wiped out Title II funding for next year. So we do not have those dollars available right now. We asked the state what the status was on that. They said that they didn't know anymore and wouldn't know until the federal government actually provided additional guidance later this year. We may know something in August, we may not. We're going to have to move ahead right now with the budget for our FY26 as if we're not going to get any Title II funding. There's a possibility we could get some carryover dollars, meaning leftover dollars from this year that would carry forward to next year, but there's no guarantee that the feds are not going to claw that money back too. So we're going to proceed as if, you know, we're probably going to lose that funding. Point 4, the only thing I'll add to that one is, you know, we did start to see the impact of the tariffs. We did do an advanced spend that we had talked to you guys about in the springtime, and that actually saved us $286,000 by ordering some computers. We got it in just under the wire before the increases happened, so that was actually a big win for us as far as being able to move ahead. A lot of this other stuff, like I said, we're going to have better information for you because this is a little bit stale, but the cabinet focus was, you know, what should we be focusing on for this next budget cycle? What's going to move the student achievement and what resources are needed? You know, we really came up with a handful of priorities that we thought we needed to focus on. Establishing that student and staff expectations, making sure we had students in the correct placement, making sure that we had a guaranteed and viable curriculum, and really focus on onboarding and professional development for staff. So those were really the identified priorities. We are continuing with the equitable resource allocation for schools. You know, we do have the building-based budgets. We have the per student allocations that we have had for years. We actually were required last year to actually have a special set-aside intensive allocation for our intensive schools that provides them with additional dollars based on their intensive designation. We also this year have had a special carve-out for schools that have special education and bilingual populations in them to give them some additional resources as well. The poverty allocation, which we've done in previous years, and then also the grant allocations that come out to the buildings. So we'll show some additional detail on that in the coming months so you can see how those allocations actually worked out to all the schools this year. The budget assumptions that I want to highlight here, the evidence-based funding that I was talking about, we have anticipated that we'll get about a $10 million increase in the tier funding. We think that's safe based on the budget that the governor just signed. We are in the revenue assumptions assuming for 24-25 tax levies that we will take new property and CPI. And the corporate personal property replacement tax, at the time that we did this, we were estimating that we were going to have a decline. We're not estimating that now. So when you see the tentative budget, you're going to see some numbers that are a little bit different. The last two payments that came in for CPPRT actually came in better than we thought, and we think that's going to hold up for next year. So those are some things that we'll be talking in more detail about. At the time we did this, federal grants, we assumed no increase. That was safe. We didn't assume that we were going to get a decrease, but so now we're going to have to go back and work a few things on that. State categorical grants, we're pretty sure we're going to see about a $2 million increase in transportation funding. They level funded transportation funding in the current year budget, so we didn't get any kind of an increase to keep up with our costs at all. So what that ultimately is going to do is probably end up in a decrease for us. So here you can see the evidence-based funding. You can see what we're estimating for 2026. We're estimating $200 million. The $190 that we got in evidence-based funding last year, plus the $10 million tier increase. As far as property tax revenues, you know, you guys have seen this chart in previous years. This really just lays out how the levy works and what the levy difference is. You can see in 2024, we did take the second to the last line there. We did actually capture the allowed CPI increase. And so, you know, there was a jump in the amount of the tax levy. Here's a breakdown, the components of the property tax increase, so you can get a rough idea on how those numbers worked out. Again, we're going to update these because at the time we did this, we didn't have the final calculations of what the property taxes are going to be. So we have these updated for the next presentation. CPPRT, we were assuming that we were going to go from that 32.9 million down to about 30 million. We think that that's probably going to be more like 32.2 million now. So you're actually going to see an increase this next month when that comes back through. So that's a little bit of good news. Overall expenditure assumptions, these are similar to what we talked about in all the individual budget presentations. The benefits are the big one that we're going to be struggling with, to be perfectly honest with you. We've seen just a huge increase in our healthcare costs. At the time that we did this, we had not finalized the healthcare budget. We have since done that, and we're anticipating that the cost for our healthcare expenses are going to be about $6.7 million higher than they were last year. So that's a significant increase. And again, we'll have more updated numbers that are in this presentation. Fund 26, the fund overview. There's a really good write-up that was attached to your presentation tonight. I won't read all these slides to you guys because all the information is in there. These are really just the highlights on a fund-by-fund basis. I'll go through these fairly quickly because they go by all 9 funds that we budget in to give you a little bit of just kind of overview. And then the written words are the ones that really explain in detail. So, again, wages and benefits noted, significant technology spending to keep systems and devices current. We spend anywhere between $2.5 and $3.5 million a year just on a regular basis, keeping up with all of our technology. We are going to have some significant food service capital spending too this year. Again, we were waiting on CPPRT, so again, these will be updated. We are probably going to move some money between the funds on the way that we allocate CPPRT to try and even things out a little bit. The way we initially crafted the budget, we were probably a little heavy on the operation and maintenance fund, this Fund 20. We're likely going to shift some of that money from CPPRT, which we have discretion to move between the funds as we budget, to shore up the ed fund. Again, not going to spend a lot of time here. Fund 30 is our bond and interest fund. We still are getting the U.S. Treasury subsidy on that right now. That is something that has remained. We don't think that they can take that away because those bonds were sold and the subsidy was approved at a different time. So that's something we could be at risk on, but we don't think that's going to happen. Fund 40, this is what we were talking about, with the decrease in state categorical funding. We were anticipating last year about $20 million. We think it's going to be closer to $18 million this year. So that's a pretty big hit on our transportation revenue side. Expenses, you guys have seen those come through recently. We do have to plug bus purchases back in this year. We did not buy buses last year. That helped us balance the budget last year. We cannot afford to do that on an ongoing basis. So we are anticipating that we're going to buy probably between 8 and 10 buses this year. Fund 50, again, this is the IMRF, Medicare, and Social Security Fund. We do have a statutory contribution we have to make in this one with CPPRT dollars, and then the rest of it is all based on the tax levy. So we try and do that on a really just an in and out basis, budget for break even on that one. Fund 60, this is something we're going to talk a little bit more about when I talk about the funding options, but we do think that we're going to have to do a bond sale this fall. We have pretty well worked our way through the $30 million worth of cash for the projects that we've started here in FY25, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a couple of minutes. You can see the first full year of FMP projects, about $36 million of total spending. That was the amount that essentially we'd set aside in cash. So we have ultimately, by the end of the summer, we'll have gone through those dollars. Some detail here on the capital projects fund. Mike actually went through a lot of this stuff when he was making his budget presentation last month, but this is a complete listing of all the capital projects that are anticipated for FY26, and you can see that it really touches projects all across the city. So we're really working hard on that. So Fund 70 is the working cash fund. We do levy a little bit of money in there. That's basically the district's, internal transfer account. There's a chance that we might actually want to do a transfer of the interest that's earned in this to shore up the ed fund this year, just because the ed fund is going to be running in a pretty significant deficit position. So Fund 80, this is where we pay all of our tort costs, our insurance and whatnot, workman's comp. You can see the levy there. This one we try and run at a break even as well. We don't like money sitting in this fund. And then Fund 90 is health, life, safety, and a small amount of levy in there. And then we've got a handful of projects that we're doing in the health, life, safety fund too. And those are the projects for FY26. So to look at kind of the budget summary, you know, we're looking at roughly $480 million of revenue coming in. Our expense by object are about 480, so you are seeing a deficit position there. We're going to be challenged to deliver a balanced budget. I'm just going to be honest with you. You know, we've gotten a little better on the revenue side, and then we got a little bit worse on the expense side over the last month, and we'll go into more detail on that here in 2 weeks. This is the budget summary, and I know this is small and kind of hard to read, but if you focus on the yellow highlighted cells there, you can see where we're anticipating, you know, deficits in those funds. Obviously, you can see the largest one is in the education fund at about, you know, $9.3 million there. If you go down a little bit to the operations and maintenance, where you see a $4.7 million surplus, that was where we were talking about transferring some money of those CPPRT revenues up into the ed fund in the coming year to help balance that out a little bit better. The one thing that's a little bit confusing maybe on the food services, where it looks like there's a pretty big surplus there, a big chunk of that money is actually commodities that we get from the federal government that we have to record as revenue, but it's actually in-kind food that we actually get. So that's not actually something we can use to actually balance the budget, because the food service actually operates on its own. So you'll see there, you know, kind of the bottom line of total operating funds of a 1.3. When you take out the commodities from the food service fund up above that 1.9 million, the deficit's more like about 3.3 million right now. And so that's about where we think it's, you know, potentially going to come in, is around 3.3 million. So these are some of the other funds that aren't considered to be the operating funds. We do have planned deficits in some of these, obviously, with capital spending and whatnot. And, you know, these are ones that fall outside of the scope of what ISB considers when you're looking at a balanced budget. And we do have reserves in these funds, you know, if there's actually deficit spending plan. So that's kind of the quick high level on the draft. And again, know that this is already out of date. So questions on this?
Ms. Pearson?
Yes, Dr. Brown, will you please remind me of the fund types that can borrow from each other or give money to?
Sure. So in the operating funds, we can actually move money back and forth between the education fund, the operation and maintenance fund, the transportation fund, and then also working cash. So we can move money back and forth between those funds.
And that's it of the,
Yeah, those
Okay.
are, the other ones are actually restricted funds. So once money goes into there, it has to stay in there.
Right.
We can't move money out.
thank you.
Yep.
Can you tell us, or you said if there's no Title II funding, how much is that?
So right now with carryover, this past year was just under $4 million. So the annual allocation was probably somewhere in the neighborhood of around $2 million, but we had a significant amount of carryover from previous years, and that was still kind of carrying over because of COVID. They were allowing large amounts to carry over. So, you know, a lot of that is for professional development activities, and we do fund some salaries out of that as well for a number of different positions. And so those are the ones that we're going through right now, trying to identify if that funding does not come through, you know, what's the backstop for those.
Thank you. Ms. Haley?
Dr. Brown, regarding that Title II funding, if we don't receive any new funding, or they, or we can't carry it over? When will we know that?
So there's a chance we could know carryover in August, but a lot of times we don't even know the carryover for Title II until fall. It could be as late as October or November. So we'd be well into the school year before we might know whether we're even going to get carryover.
I do have another question regarding the IDEA funding. So it's, you said it's projected to remain the same?
As fiscal year 24.
Yeah, have we even gotten it in the past? I mean.
Yeah, we have, but that's consistently been received on an annual basis. The IDEA funding has.
But we haven't gotten it at the rate that it's supposed to be funded.
We have on IDEA.
We have, okay.
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
So I've never been around for a budget deficit. So what do we do if we can't pass a balanced budget?
Yeah,
we have a deficit.
I mean, state statute tells you you're supposed to pass a balanced budget, but do other school districts pass deficit budgets when they have to? Yes. Is it good practice? No. Do you have to do it sometimes and then hope that you can manage through it during the year? Yes. You know, I've had that experience in my previous district numerous years where money was tight, and you know, we did our best to absolutely manage through it. And I would say all but 1 year we successfully were able to get to a balanced budget by the end of the year by really just watching things and really managing things tight. And that's when you have to rely on, you know, our team to do their job for you guys. And, you know, we've got a pretty good track record of being able to do that.
Thank you.
But do I encourage you to pass a deficit budget? Absolutely not. Dangerous practice.
Yes.
Sometimes you get surprises, and then you just have to work your way through it.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
All right, any other questions on the budget? If not, then I guess we'll turn to the facilities master plan.
Yep. So, again, this is a pretty extensive write-up here, and I'm not going to go through all of it. I'll give you the Cliff Notes version here, and then let you know really what we're going to be looking for some board guidance. So the highlights would be just knowledge that we're not going to be able to bond for everything in the facility master plan using health, life, safety bonds or working cash bonds. So at some point, we are going to be looking at trying to pass a referendum. So that kind of takes us to, you know, what our options would be. The options would be to either pursue option one, which is shown on here, which would be a traditional referendum, or we could look at doing the sales tax referendum. And last month, I know you guys had asked for an updated projection on the county school facility sales tax. And so I worked with Stiefel to actually put together more of a presentation on what it would look like if this was something that the board wanted to pursue. And so I'll just walk you quickly through the slides here. This just gives you a little background on the sales tax. And I know some of you have been on the board before when we talked about this. So some of this is not new, but it does allow county voters to approve a sales tax to fund school facility costs, a 1% maximum, and you can do it in 0.25% increments. They did change state statute a couple of years ago to include some things other than capital type items where you actually could pay with county school facility sales tax dollars for school resource officers and mental health professionals. So that was a big add that actually helped a lot of school districts that have passed these in the last couple of years pass it, because the communities knew that you could use it for not only building things, but you could actually use it for, you know, mental health and school resource officers as well. You can see there the counties that have actually passed it. More than half of the counties of Illinois have actually passed it now. There's a handful that have tried and not been successful. And then the white counties are ones that have not attempted it. You can see just a summary of the sample Illinois sales tax rates. You can see they run the gamut, you know, from 7.5 in Effingham, you know, to, you know, Cook County, which is 10.5. What's taxed? This is really a big one. Prepared food, retail purchases. Some refer to this as the retailer's tax. Like if you bought something at Target or something like that, it would get taxed. Things that don't get taxed are groceries, and that 1% is going away in January as well. Drugs don't get taxed. Farm inputs and farm equipment don't get taxed, and services right now. So anything that's purchased or sold at the wholesale level does not get taxed. So you can see here, you buy your kids some Happy Meals and you get a Big Mac, and you'd pay 18 cents if this was enacted. So eligible uses and ineligible uses, you can't use it for instructional resources that can be consumed. And so, you can't use it for textbooks, you can't use it to pay salaries, you can't use it for those kinds of things. What you can do is all the stuff that we're talking about doing in the facility master plan, just essentially, is what you can use it for. That's been the attractive thing, is people know that there's restrictions on how you can spend the money. So when this money comes in, it absolutely goes into Fund 60, and that's the only place it can go. And once it's in there, it's in a restricted fund and it's locked down. So how to use it, pay as you go. You can issue new bonds, you can retire existing debt, or any combination of the above. Benefit to the property taxes is we can abate or decrease existing property taxes by using sales tax fund to pay off outstanding building bonds. So when you see the amount of revenue, when we get to the later slide on this one, if we were to enact a 1% sales tax in Winnebago County, we would receive enough money to not only pay off the outstanding bonds for the facility master plan, we would actually have enough revenue coming in to actually offset almost all of the other bonds that are outstanding that the district has issued in previous years. So we could actually pay off our current debt and then also do a property tax abatement in the bond and the interest levy and use money from the sales tax to actually reduce property taxes even further. So that's one of the biggest benefits to it. The money follows the student. Basically we have to report our number of students every year. That's how the money gets distributed in the county. All the school districts in the county receive an allocable share based on their student count. That's just the way that this works. So you can see historical sales tax there, over the years. Big increase when we could start getting revenue in from online purchases. You can see a nice jump there. And then this is the example of all the individual school districts that would benefit, from that. It's too small for me to read, so I've got to cheat and look at the one that's printed here. But you can see the amount of revenue that we'd be looking at here from a district perspective. We'd be looking at $20+ million, about $25 million is about what we'd be looking, and that would be if it was a 1% sales tax. Again, enough money to pay off anything that we would issue for this facility master plan, and then actually generate enough revenue to pay off a large portion of our existing debt that we currently have outstanding. So those are really kind of what we think the two options are. We know that we're going to have to do this at some point. Timing-wise in the process that this would go, the school board does have to pass a resolution. Districts representing more than 50% of the enrollment must approve consistent ballot language. So we would have to work with the other school districts if this was something that you decided you wanted to go forward with. And we would actually, talk to the other school districts as well to see if they were on board. There have been preliminary discussions with the school districts, and there does seem to be a lot of general support for it out there. And, it's just something that seems like it's building some momentum. That's the ballot language that would go on there. Simple majority, to do it. And then again, this is how it works. Goes into the state. Of course, the state has to scalp a little bit off before they give it back to us. And then we actually get the net of that. And this is really something that I want to just talk briefly about. We've got two chances if we want to pass a referendum in the near future. So we'd have March, which is the primaries here in the state coming up, and then we'd have the general election in November 2026. So I think our plan right now is to try and bring a recommendation to you guys in July, so we can actually get moving on one or the other of these, or not work on it at all if that's something that you don't want to do right now. I know that may seem early to try and make a decision on something like this, but if we do have to work on getting information out, it's something that we really would want to start working on in the fall, so we can at least create some awareness of it and make sure people understand what it is the district is asking for. So that's it in a nutshell. Again, we do think that we're going to have to do a working cash bond this fall sometime. And at the July committee of the whole meeting, I'm working on a timeline right now on how that might look to issue some working cash bonds this fall of probably about $25 to $30 million, so we can stay on track with the facility master plan the way it is right now before, we would actually go out and get money via referendum. So questions on that? I know that was a lot. We'll have another update in 2 weeks, so.
Thank you, Ms. Bennett.
For our current contracts for our SROs and different mental health professionals that we have, I guess I have a two-part question. So can those be contracts that are employees that are not employees of the district? So like our contracts we have with Rockford Police Department, for example, and outside entities for mental health professionals?
Yes.
Okay, so our current contracts could be paid moving forward?
Could be.
Okay, if this is something we did. Okay, and then does that also cover mental health professionals that are employed by the district?
That I'm not sure about, so I'll
Okay.
find that out.
Okay, so, yeah, I'd appreciate it, and especially to know what level of mental health professionals would make sense in our staffing
Sure.
too. That would
Yep.
be helpful. Thank you.
Yep.
Was there going to be any information provided about what the other alternative would be a property tax referendum?
Correct, that'd be option one.
Okay.
And we'd have to follow the same timeline.
Okay. And do you have any idea how much that would be? I guess it's what kind of a rate we'd be looking at?
Yeah, right now, I couldn't tell you the rate. I'll have that for 7-1 though. That's what we're working on right now, is trying to figure out what our borrowing costs might be. The Fed meets tomorrow to tell us whether they're going to cut rates. I don't think they're going to, and I don't think they're going to cut in July either, to be honest with you. So I don't think we're going to see a rate cut probably before October would be the earliest if we get one this year.
All right, thank you. And then I think, I know we've talked about this, but I think you said we'd have to work with the other districts, but, and that's something we would want to do, but
Sure.
we technically wouldn't have to, I guess, right? 'Cause
We
we're over.
wouldn't have to.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah, I could provide some context on that. I'm probably on my third round of conversations at the regional superintendent meetings. Those don't convene in the summertime, but part of the advantage of this timeline, and I think we should pursue both options. We should look at what a referenda would look like in the best scenario in terms of a property tax-based funding source as well as sales tax. One option we would have for the board is if the board gives us clear direction, while we do have the authority to move forward unilaterally because we have more than 50% of the students, I think a strong strategy for this to pass would be to use the clear direction of the Rockford board to go to the other superintendents and school boards and really get a sense of how many of them are with us. Candidly, if we're going it alone in a worst case scenario, the likelihood of that passing would be very, very low. What I can tell you in the multiple conversations I've had, I think there's a very strong possibility we could get 70, 80% of the, 7 or 8 of the 10 probably would be a reasonable target to shoot for. There have been new board elections though, since the last conversation I've had. So long story short, I think what's been difficult for me in those conversations is I couldn't say Rockford was committed yet, and I've been pushing them to see, kind of just to take their temperature. So I think if the board does decide it wants to go this route, I know there are multiple local districts, 3 or 4 that I can think of that have already passed informal advisory direction that they would support this. Again, previous boards, things could have changed in the election, things could be different right now in different economic times, but there's almost, I would say, unanimous support for this with superintendents, but they don't get to vote on this. It really comes down to how boards feel about it, and if you give us that direction, Dr. Brown and I will work with CFOs, superintendents, who will then work with their boards to see where we stand before we move forward. And I think that's why the July timeline is helpful, so that we can get those folks to work to get a sense of where we stand. And if we're going it alone, you know, we may have to go a different direction, because it becomes a pretty tall climb if everyone else is not supporting.
It's probably option 1 then, not option 2. You know, it's probably just going alone and doing a traditional referendum if we don't have support from the other districts. It's not worth wasting an opportunity for us to pass a regular referendum, you know, when we think that's doable. So.
Ms. Stanford?
If we decide to go with the sales tax option, how do we go about educating the community on what it is?
Sure.
And what it's going to be used for to try to get their support?
Yeah, it's a long roadshow process, to be perfectly honest with you. And so, you know, I've done this before in next door, and you're literally going to everything. I mean, we were going to the farm bureaus, we were going to the Chamber of Commerce, we were going to you know, board meetings for the townships and the other municipalities, going and talking to the school boards, going to talking, you know, at PTO meetings. I mean, it's, you know, the one thing that you can't do as a school district is you cannot run a vote yes campaign. Like, that's electioneering, and we can't do that. All we can do is provide information. And so we have to be very, very careful with the way that we do it. It really is all about just making sure people understand what it is we're asking for, and that we're just super transparent on, you know, how it works and what we're going to use the money for. The first time we tried it in Boone County, we did not pass it. It was very, very close. I think if a handful of people would have voted the other way, it would have done it. The second time we went out and we did the roadshow again, and it passed with like 65% of the vote. So it was just people didn't have enough information or weren't comfortable. And, you know, once we were very, very clear again with how we were going to use the money over there, it passed overwhelmingly. And they've generated probably a much smaller community, but they've probably generated over $40 million. And they've used it 100% for tax abatement and to pay off debt.
And the $25 million that you estimated, that's an annual amount?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions at this time? Thank you, Dr. Brown. We are now on the planning and development consent portion of our meeting. May I have a motion and a second to approve the items in section 6?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Are there any consent items in section 6 that board members wish to have pulled for separate consideration? Seeing none, I would ask that the roll be called.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Ms. Chavez?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. We are now on the governance committee portion of our meeting. May I have, and the first one is 7A, RFQ 25-34, executive search firm for superintendent search. May I have a motion and a second to approve the RFQ 25-34 that will, for the firm that will be assisting with the superintendent search?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? I did just want to make a note real quick to thank Tiana McCall and June Stanford for their work in the in searching and evaluating for the firms to be considered to be retained for the superintendent search. Their evaluations resulted in a group of 4 finalists that we interviewed last week, and those interviews resulted in a decision that BWP and Associates would be the best firm for our needs. So we look forward to finalizing that contract and getting to work on that process. And just, so everyone knows, our interviews concentrated on community involvement in the process, and I'm confident that everyone who wants to be heard will be heard. And I'm also confident that we're on the best timeline possible for attracting the best candidates possible for this position. So I just wanted to state that before we voted on this. But if we can please call the roll. Thank you.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Ms. Chavez?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. The next items are 7B, 7C, 7D, 7E, 7F, and 7G. Is there a motion and a second to approve the proposed policy changes in items 7B through 7G?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Are there any items in sections 7B through 7G that board members wish to have pulled for separate consideration? Seeing none, is there any discussion on the items 7B through 7G? Seeing none, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Ms. Chavez?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. We're now on the governance consent portion of our meeting. May I have a motion and a second to approve the items listed in section 8?
So moved.
Second.
Are there any consent items in section 8 that board members wish to have pulled for separate consideration? Seeing none, I'd ask that the roll be called.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Ms. Chavez?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. We are now on the closed session consent agenda, including section 9, closed session consent items, 9A, salary adjustments for non-bargaining employees, 9B, appointment of Ryan Jones as 10-month dean assigned to Auburn, 9C, appointment of Yuritsi Matsuzuma as 10-month dean assigned to Riverdale, 9D, appointment of Kevin Petroline as 10-month assistant principal assigned to Brookview, 9E, appointment of James Sarther as 10-month assistant principal assigned to Carlson, 9F, appointment of Nancy Razone as 10-month assistant principal assigned to Cherry Valley, 9G, appointment of Caprice Lattimore as 10-month assistant principal assigned to Gregory, 9H, appointment of Bailey Reese as 10-month assistant principal assigned to Risa, 9I, appointment of Kevin Finnegan as 12-month principal assigned to Bloom, 9J, appointment of Amish Shah as 12-month assistant principal assigned to Guilford, 9K, appointment of Ryan McReynolds as 12-month assistant principal assigned to Roosevelt, 9L, appointment of Ashley Cameron as 12-month assistant principal assigned to Eisenhower, 9M as appointment of Corey Schrank as a 12-month principal assigned to Jefferson, 9N, appointment of Natalie Garnhart as 12-month director of special education assigned to administration building, 9O, appointment of Matthew Zimmerman as 12-month special education administrator assigned to administration building, 9P, appointment of Brian Steele as 12-month special education administrator assigned to administration building, 9Q, appointment of Megan McNeil as 12-month Deputy General Counsel assigned to the Administration Building, 9R, HR Organizational Report. May I have a motion and a second to approve the items in Section 9, Closed Session Consent?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Are there any closed session consent items that board members wish to have pulled for separate consideration? Seeing none, I'd ask that the roll be called, please.
Ms. Stanford,
Yes.
Ms. Pearson,
Yes?
Ms. Chavez,
Yes.
Ms. McCall,
Yes.
Ms. Bennett,
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter,
Yes.
Ms. Haley.
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. We are now on student discipline suspension, appeals, and expulsions. Section 10, student B 0033X-25 is expelled for the entire 2025-26 school year through the entire 2026-27 school year. Students P170X-25, P172X-25, P184X-25, T0010X-25, and B0031X-25 are expelled for the entire 2025-26 school year. Students P0189X-25, P0190X-25, P0193X-25. The expulsions are held in abeyance contingent upon an abeyance agreement for the entire 2025-26 school year through the first semester of the 2026-27 school year. Student H0072X-25, the expulsion is held in abeyance contingent upon an expulsion and abeyance agreement for the 2025-26 school year. Student P0143X-25, the expulsion is held in abeyance contingent upon an expulsion and abeyance agreement through the second trimester of the 2025-26 school year. Student P010A-25, the 3-day suspension is affirmed. May I have a motion and a second to approve the items in Section 10, student expulsions and suspension appeals?
So moved?
Second?
Are there any items in that board members wish to have pulled for separate consideration? Ms. Bennett.
Letter I, J, and K.
Letter I is B31X-25.
Yes.
Letter J is H72X-25.
Yes.
Letter K is P143X-25.
Yes.
Was that all of them?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And I would ask to pull letters D and E. D is P184X-25. And E is T10X-25. And so we would first vote on the items that have not been pulled. So if we could call the roll for the items that have not been pulled.
Ms. Pearson,
Yes.
Ms. Chavez,
Yes.
Ms. McCall,
Yes.
Ms. Bennett,
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter,
Yes.
Ms. Haley,
Yes.
Ms. Stanford.
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
And I'll ask Ms. Bennett, are the items that you asked to have pulled, are you intending to vote on all of those the same so that can they be called all together?
Correct.
Okay. I think we can call all of the ones that have been pulled together, the ones that Ms. Bennett asked for and the ones that I asked for. And so if we can call the roll on the items that have been pulled.
Ms. Chavez,
So this is
this is to vote on the items that were pulled.
Oh, yes.
Ms. McCall,
Yes.
Ms. Bennett,
No.
Mr. Carpenter,
no.
Ms. Haley,
No.
Ms. Stanford,
Yes.
Ms. Pearson.
Yes.
The motion passes with 4 yeses, 3 nos.
Thank you. We are now on to student discipline EIAs. Section 11, may I have a motion and a second to approve the items in Section 11, the student EIAs.
So moved.
Second.
Are there any items that board members wish to have pulled for separate consideration?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Letter Q, P197-25. And then one moment. Okay, just that one.
All right, thank you. So item Q has been pulled for separate consideration. If we could call the roll for the items that have not been pulled.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Ms. Chavez?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. And then if we could call the roll for item Q that was pulled for separate consideration.
Ms. Bennett?
No.
Mr. Carpenter?
Abstain.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Ms. Chavez?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
The motion passes with 5 yeses, 1 no, 1 abstain.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the superintendent's report. Dr. Jarrett?
Thank you, Board President Carpenter. And the board, I wanted to just say thank you to our retirees. We celebrated our graduates, which was amazing, and I was grateful to be on the stage for 5 graduation ceremonies, and was able to acknowledge those students, and was really proud about graduation and that commencement season. But tonight, I really wanted to just give a huge moment of recognition to our retirees. We had people that were probably in 10 or 11 different ways they serve children in this district that we celebrated as retirees, whether it were teachers or bus drivers or food service workers. One of my favorite parts of the year is I get a chance to try to say thank you to as many of those people as I can. I go around school by school and present them with a certificate, and we take a picture, so we'll be posting that. And the stories I hear are amazing. I love, first and foremost, hearing about all the places that they've worked and that they've spent time. One of the running jokes with many of them, particularly with some of our faculty and our teachers, as they told me all the places they worked, they would say, and by the way, that you were part of the group that demolished that building after I worked. So that got to be kind of a running gag. But they were all such amazing contributors to the lives of our students and our community, and that was something that should be celebrated. And the second thing I loved hearing about is the sense of hope and optimism of just a wonderful career and the enjoyment they could take, whether it was traveling in October for the first time in their life, because they've been, in their adult life at least, because they've always had commitments to children, whether it's more time to spend with family or grandchildren. I was just honored to get to know some of those folks a little bit better. That's one of the disadvantages of working in a large district, is a lot of times you don't get a chance to know people as human beings. You just maybe will meet them once or twice over the course of their career as the superintendent. But having a chance to hear about not only what they did to serve children, but also to hear about what's next was really inspiring. Also, shout out to June and Paul for being there to help hand out certificates. And finally, I wanted to thank the board. We had absolutely awesome board participation at the graduation ceremonies. That's 5 ceremonies. It can be a long and significant time commitment, and you all never wavered with your enthusiasm and your support for our students, and it makes me feel great as a community member to know how passionate you are about celebrating those big moments with our students. There are a lot of things that you do where you have to make really tough decisions, and you're in a spot where there's a no-win situation, but what made me smile was to see the joy that it brought our board to be celebrating with our students. So thank you all for participating in that experience. I was honored to have so many of you share the stage with us. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is item 13, board member comments. It provides the opportunity for board member discussion. Are there any board member comments, action steps, other business, new business, agenda recommendations, or any other matters to discuss? Ms. McCall.
Thank you, Board President Carpenter. I attended 7 graduations. I did a middle school and a kindergarten. But I just wanted to take this time out to just congratulate the staff and the teachers and all the administration and everybody for, we made it through another school year. We faced many ups and downs, different challenges and different rewards. But at the end of the day, at the graduations and everything, it just was a great success. Other than that, board members too, thank y'all. Thank you for all the work that you're doing. But I just want to take this time to acknowledge that your work is appreciated and is gone. It's, sometimes it's a thankless job, so.
Thank you, Ms. McCollum. Ms. Pearson.
Well, congratulations to our retirees. Thank you for all that you've done and contributed to the educational system. I want to thank the Van Vliet Family Foundation for all of its work. I certainly appreciate Fred coming back and giving back to the community. I had an opportunity to check in on the camp that was on Saturday, and it was amazing. So I never want to go without just simply saying thank you for his efforts, he and his family's efforts in contributing to our community. And thank the district for making it available for us to attend the Diamond Van Vliet dinner. That was an experience. So, and I definitely appreciate all of the parents and the families that came and supported our graduates, and I wish them the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pearson. I just wanted to mention I had attended an IASB large district president's meeting. It was on Zoom on Friday. I just want to report back real quick on that it's always good to hear from other boards and what their current concerns are. One reason it's good is because it's a reminder that a lot of boards, that we have a good board. We don't agree on everything, of course, but we're not dealing with board members who aren't showing up at meetings or who are showing up at meetings and being disruptive the way that some other board members or some other board presidents reported. So thank you to our board members here. Thank you for everything you do to be committed to your job, your role as a board member. One issue that was raised that's common to our district is ensuring that that our schools are safe for students who may be targeted or feel targeted by federal agents. I think that's something we need to be vigilant about and continue to be vigilant about, and continue to communicate, especially to our most vulnerable community members, that the schools are safe for their students. So I think we'll keep continuing with that conversation. And if there is no other further business before the board, I will take a motion in a second to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you all.